Hello all you Pixel people, I am Pixel and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. In this episode we are going to be focusing on the inherent problems with PC gaming. I mean, I'm a PC gamer, I love PC gaming, I know that most of the people that watch the videos on this channel are primarily PC gamers. And we've got a good thing, right? We've got amazing graphics, got decent performance, we've got mods and all this kind of really cool stuff, which, I mean, the consoles are quite limited to in all fairness. However, I like my competitive shooters. I like the ability to jump into a game and have a really, fight to the death mentality and literally fight for that win every single time. And what happens is, I mean, if you've noticed the gameplay in the background right now, it's the Battlefield 4 beta, and it is most likely the ugliest gameplay footage you have seen to this date on YouTube, apart from the people that don't know how to render and encode videos. And what it is because we've got all this graphical power, we've got better graphics in general, and we've got better performance in general, what happens is, because we've also been given the option to lower and raise graphical options, a lot of us, well, not a lot of us, but the minority of us, should I say, have got into this habit of, I want the highest frame rate possible. I mean, I run on a 120Hz monitor, well, 144Hz to be exact, and in any competitive game that I play now, I will always aim to have 144 FPS minimum, which is huge. I mean, right now we're talking about next generation consoles and saying that the target should be 60, and many games still aren't going to be hitting that 60 FPS. And yet, here we are, PC gamers, and there's a decent number of us which are aiming to get this 144 FPS at all times. The issue is with a lot of modern games, it's starting to get to the point with even amazing technology, it is virtually impossible to have that 144 FPS while running on max settings. So what happens is, people which have already got pretty decent computers will lower the graphical settings again and again and again, because personally, I don't know how you guys feel about this, I would rather play a game which doesn't look amazing, but have, let's say, 120 FPS, than play a stunning game at 30 FPS. This is just how I feel. I mean, the inherent smoothness of a high frame rate actually makes the game look a lot better anyway, so in many respects, I actually find a medium graphics game looks better at 120 FPS than it does on max settings at 60 FPS, and again 60 to 30, and however you want to compare. Now, where this starts getting muddy is, these are personal preferences if you was playing a single player game, for instance. But what I've noticed, well, not what I've noticed, what is apparent is, when it gets to multiplayer, I've been looking through the Battlefield 4 forums today, and I've noticed this big argument about how badly optimized the game is and how poor the performance is, and I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, on my system I should be getting at least a minimum of 60 FPS at all times, and even on low settings I struggle to achieve that. But I started noticing people which were saying, it's fine, the performance is fine, and then they start posting that, yeah, they've never dropped below 30 FPS, and, oh, I've got 45 FPS constantly. Me personally, I consider that unplayable, because it just makes my reactions slower, I've got a disadvantage in game, so I would rather have a really ugly game and have that advantage. And now this is where it comes into the issue side of it. The issue is when you're playing on a console, for instance, where you haven't got individual graphical settings and you're just all playing the same game effectively. I mean, the only advantages you've got in that situation are if you're using a modded controller, if you've got a decent monitor with a low latency time. I mean, there's slight advantages when it comes to your audio, and if you're using a wired controller rather than a wireless controller. But I mean, these are minuscule differences. Minuscule differences. These differences are nothing in comparison to me in this gameplay with resolution on 80%, everything on the lowest it can possibly be, locked off my anti-aliasing and everything like that. And I'm playing this now about 80 to 90 FPS. I do drop to 60 and 50 at times, but that's mainly because the beta is unoptimized. And you'll notice, like, this gameplay is not the best. In this gameplay, I basically did all these graphical setting changes, and I thought I'm going to run around the map, and I'm just going to see what I can get away with. Can I be this cocky? Can I run into a group of 5 of them and have an advantage because I've got a better FPS than what most of them will have? And the answer is, it's not perfect, but in general, yeah, I've got a fair advantage over these other players. I mean, as you can tell by the gameplay itself, I am not being careful whatsoever. I am basically running around in the open, and what I'm trying to achieve in this gameplay itself is running up into somebody's face, basically, and seeing whose reactions are faster. And I mean, I've got decent reactions in general, and even on max settings, I would win most of these fights. However, there are definitely moments in this gameplay what I can point out and say, I would not have done this if I was on max settings. I mean, look how bright the gameplay is. I've got the brightness on 70 or 80% right now. And this isn't how it should look. This isn't how the game should look. It looks washed out. However, it means that in a dark area, and the map has quite a few dark areas, I can see the enemy. It also means that because I've got all the graphics on minimum, at very far distances, I can see through walls because the walls don't pop up on your screen before you actually get there. I've widened the FOV, which allows me to see people at the sides of me much easier than if I was having a very narrow field of view. And all in all, this gives me an advantage. As you've noticed by my other gameplay videos and what is about to come in future, this is not how I intend to play the game anymore. But from playing competitively in the past, this is how I played my video games for the longest time. And I mean, on low settings, Battlefield 4 still looks pretty good. But I'm talking about there was games which we would make look horrendous. I played Left 4 Dead 2 competitively, and when I played that, I used to play on 640 by 480 resolution, everything on minimum. I used to have full bright turned on, so there was basically no dark. And yeah, the game wasn't as enjoyable to look at, but you know yourself, guys, whenever you watch... just think back to your old VHS video recorders, if you are old enough, so, or your DVD players now, let's say, for instance. And then when you compare that to a Blu-ray, the difference is huge. It is outstanding. The problem is, back when you was using DVDs, you did not think, oh my god, this quality is disgusting. This is disgusting, not until you had something to compare it to. So long-term playing at these very low graphical options can actually just become normal to you, and what you end up craving more than the fidelity of the visuals is the performance and the frame rate. And I miss playing like this. I'm obviously not going to continue playing like this because I make YouTube videos. Is it because I think it's lame? No, I don't think it's lame. I think everybody's got the option to do this. The problem is the fact that there's an option there. So if you're playing on a team with everybody who's got 30 FPS, you've got an advantage if the enemy team's all got 60 FPS. It's as simple as that. But I'm not going to play like this because I don't think the videos look as good quality as what they could do. But yeah, I'd just like to get your thoughts on this, guys. Do you think that lowering the graphical settings is a lame thing to do, that you shouldn't be doing it in the first place? Do you guys do this? Do you lower your settings so you can have a high FPS? Or would you prefer to have a low FPS or a lower FPS and amazing graphics? I think this is one of them topics which we're never going to get a full answer on, but I, for one, I mean, if you just look at the score, the kill-death ratio wasn't so great because I was running around like a lunatic, but yeah, that was slightly better than what I would do on max settings, to be honest, when it comes to the score-wise, but yeah. Don't forget to slap that subscribe button for some more PC gaming goodness, guys, and like the video if you like the video. I am Pixel. Till next time, bye-bye.